Hello and welcome to the Possibility Mindset Podcast. I'm Devin Henderson, I'm your host, and I believe, and this man believes, that something greater is always possible for you. So, Marvellous Mark, what's going on? He's
Marvellous
ready to drum.
Marvellous Mark.
Look at this jacket, dude. Don't miss what we got going on here. This is... Mark's a keynote speaker, and we're going to get all into his topic and everything like that. But first, the jacket, you wear a different jacket on stage. I mean, how many jackets do you have in your closet at home?
Well, I say on my website I have over 50 signature jackets, so it kind of became my brand because as a 35-year touring entertainer, I was always known for my props and signature costumes. So when I morphed into professional speaking, I how can I keep that brand or that differentiation alive? And so I decided to do it with cool, unusual jackets. So I'm always trying to find boutiques, which all of you out there, if you have a favorite boutique in your city, let Devin know, because I'm always looking for something different that others can't have.
Nice. Okay, that's good to know. So local boutiques in Kansas City, reach out and we'll let Mark know. Now the people who are just listening can't see the jacket, so they're missing the ultimate flair. So you have to go on YouTube and check it out so you can actually see the jacket. But I've seen you in, I don't know, a dozen or 24 different jackets. You got pink, you got white, you got multicolor. I mean, dude, it's an endless array of just incredible jackets. So,
well, one of my mentors in the speaking business, Patricia Fripp, shared with me a long time ago, and it's very true. If you can't be memorable, why show up? And that's a lot what I talk about when I talk about Kiss, how Kiss wanted to create a disruption in the music business, so they did it with spandex makeup and a tongue implant.
Yeah. Is that your next endeavor? He's like, when I get tired of the jacket thing. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we'll go ahead and right off just kind of say who you are, what you do. Okay, so Mark Kamp is a friend of mine, fellow motivational speaker out of Las Vegas. So the jacket goes, I mean, this is like your everyday attire.
It's true.
Mark's really, his whole brand is about being a rock star, but taking the rock star mentality to the business place and talking about teamwork in the context of, leadership and how people work together like a rock band would in order to achieve amazing, awesome, what's the word, unreasonable goals, is that right?
Big unreasonable dreams, the bud. Big unreasonable dreams. So it's like, what's your bud, right? Is that the question? Okay, Unless I'm speaking to a cannabis convention, and then a bud has a whole new different meaning.
Yeah, it takes a little preface when you get to that, yeah. So that's awesome. So that's kind of where we're gonna get there. I want to hear more about Mark's story. I have some fun stories to share about us together. Memories you may not even know that I hold on to. Good things, funny things. Good. Nothing embarrassing, nothing too embarrassing. But I do want to.
It takes a lot to embarrass me anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure. But this is the Possibility Mindset Podcast, and that's why I wanted to ultimately have you on, because yes, you're fun, you're a friend, you're in town, but I thought, man, I think your message is great for people who are pursuing greater possibilities. People as individuals in their business, in their life, but also just on the organizational level, and people leading teams, in corporate America, associations. So that's ultimately what we're going to get to.
Right,
is what possibilities are we going to pursue? But first, I want to give a shout out. This is our first sponsored episode. Now, and you know what? Do you have drumsticks for me? I'll clap my hands.
I'm giving you these.
Oh, you're giving me those. Yeah. Look at that. You're going to give me some drumsticks.
That's what drummers do. At the end of the show, they present them with someone special. Yeah. And since you're the only one here, I'm going to give you the drumsticks.
It's my first time. That's hilarious. So the drummers don't just chuck them into the crowd. It's not just a launch the stick.
Well, Tommy Lee does.
Okay, all right. Tommy Lee, he's the only one.
He's the only
one.
All
right. And has that ever gone wrong? Has that ever turned into a lawsuit of any kind?
I'm sure it has.
I'm sure it has. I heard one time Kenny Rogers, God rest his soul, threw a Frisbee into the audience and broke a chandelier and glass fell, and he goes, "Oh, just buy myself a lawsuit." Remember hearing that years ago. They're not expensive to buy them.
Right.
In the long run, they turn into money, I guess. But okay, so we do want to give a shout out to our first sponsor ever. We're at a breakfast and brunch location called Etc. It's local here to Kansas City. There are 2 locations, I believe, total. So we're at the one in Shawnee. And Shannon, the manager, so kindly offered her private event space and said, hey, we're going to cover your breakfast. We're going to give you this space. So thank you. Shout out to Etc. And we had breakfast. How was breakfast, Mark?
It was yummy. Best oatmeal I've ever had.
Best oatmeal he's ever had. Dang,
and it wasn't because of the raisins or the brown sugar.
Just straight oatmeal. Those steel cut oats, man. They know what they're doing. They know how to mix it.
Because they're not instant.
Right.
A really good steel cut oatmeal is like soaked overnight, and they definitely take the time to do that. And then I think a lot of it has to do with the water. I think they use really good water when they make their oatmeal.
Where do you think they get that good water from? Should we ask them?
I don't know, Missouri River.
Just to go down there and test the pH levels. Well, it's kind of like good barbecue here in Kansas City, which is what we're known for, and it's a slow thing. It takes time. You can't rush it, right? So I didn't know that about oatmeal. Are you some kind of oatmeal connoisseur? We got the oatmeal guy here today in the jacket. He's like, well, let me tell you what makes a good bowl of oatmeal. But I'm educated already. If you haven't gotten your money's worth out of this podcast, I don't know. But that's great, man. But so thank you so much, Shannon, for the space, for the food. I want to also thank you to Sonia, our server, who's awesome. She's popping in and out.
Super Sonia, we called her.
Super Sonia, that's right. Sonia, Super Sonia. And then we got Phyllis in here. Chris is serving today, and Michael helped hook us up with the Wi-Fi. I'm telling you, the team here is great, man. This team here at Etc. is a rock star. You would know because you're the Rockstar guy. And the oatmeal guy and the Rockstar guy. I think we need to add the oatmeal thing to your brand. I think there's something there.
See what you did there? Brand, oatmeal, fiber, brand.
Boom! Look at that brand. All right, man. It's yes, we are bringing the ultimate cheese to this podcast. That's great, man. Okay, so I also have to say that Minsky's Pizza is right next door to us. If you're in Kansas City, you know Minsky's Pizza. It's my favorite pizza. I'm not just saying that because, hey, we're next to it. It's the best pizza ever. I don't know how many locations there are here, but there might be people popping back and forth. I guess Minsky's and Etc. shares this private dining space. You look like you care about that. Well, you look like you're into that information.
I'm just thinking, is he trying to bargain for free pizza now?
Yeah,
I'll get the pizza place a shout out.
There's a really nice gas station across the road over there. Gas is expensive these days, man. You got to get sponsorship wherever you can. You said you're not going to drink coffee, right? I'm going to pour myself a cup here.
Go right ahead.
We're going to test the pH levels and the water quality.
The best
and
part
you think
of
this
waking
coffee
up.
was brewed overnight?
That's cold brew. Yeah. Now, good cold brew is brewed. Good cold brew is brewed overnight.
Are you a cold brew guy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I can't. Cold and coffee just doesn't go together for me, man. Here's the thing. I always have a segment when I'm solo casting called Confessions of a Motivational Speaker, and I wasn't going to do one today, but you kind of got onto this. I'm just not a cold coffee guy. I just people are like, oh, we can ice that for you, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Coffee's supposed to be hot. So, when did you make that? Because my daughter likes cold coffee, iced coffee. How do you make that leap from hot coffee, such a great thing, to and can someone do both, or are you just one or the other?
I don't like
big
coffee.
Okay,
I drink coffee because I tell everybody I deliver rock concert energy to their meetings and events. So when you're on the road a lot, sometimes you need that extra little pick-me-up. So I actually travel with a bag of instant cold brew, so I can put it in my water. I just take a scoop because it's hard to travel with matcha. And matcha's a little grainy, but I'm not a person that likes coffee or a crazy coffee person that has to have it just right with all the pumps and the flavoring. I just want it for the pick me up.
Okay.
So I can drink it hot, I can drink it cold. It doesn't matter.
I see. Wow.
Sorry, you look disappointed. Wow, I thought Mark was cool.
Just never met someone who travels with their own matcha. It's a first for me.
Matcha, man.
Okay, man. No, that's cool. I've gotten into a thing called Mud Water, which is a coffee alternative, which is like 1/7 the amount of caffeine in a cup of coffee. So I understand alternative and bringing your own powder and explaining that to TSA. No. It's Mud Water. Oh, okay. Let him through. I'm familiar with Mud Water. Yeah. Okay. Awesome, man. So good with honey. Okay. So we've given our shout out to Etc. And hopefully we'll be able to come back here and do this again here because it's a great location and incredible food. So Mark, you're my second interview. I've been promising the guests forever. Hey, I'm going to interview. I'm going to do it. And they're like, yeah, sure you are, Devin. But you're my second one. The first one was Mark Mayfield, who's a mutual friend.
Mark, yeah.
So I only do people named Mark. So what we're gonna have to do.
It's the Mark podcast.
It is. I was holding out for the other Mark. So we have to find other people named Mark who are gonna work. So I don't know. Let's work on a list.
So I'm number 2, is what you're saying.
You're number 2. Yes, you are. Okay, now a question I just wrote some random questions down. Marvellous, because your website is marvellousmark.com.
Correct.
But Marvellous spelled MARVELLESS mark.com. Not like marvelous like the traditional spelling, right? So just curious, where did that spelling come from? Talk to us.
All right, well, the elevator version of that is, depending on the average age of your audience, back in the early 80s on Saturday Night Live, one of the regulars was Billy Crystal, and he came out with this whole phrase, "You look marvelous, you look marvelous." Yep. And it caught on, there was t-shirts, and I just started my radio career, and everybody had like their radio names, so some of my friends came up like, "You should be Marvellous Mark, you should be Marvellous Mark." So that I've been Marvellous Mark since 1982.
Wow.
On the radio.
Congratulations.
And then as I got into more business, as I was doing more DJ gigs and entertaining gigs, my energy was always off the charts, and the level of engagement, and people would always say, "Wow, you have more energy or engagement than a band." So then I thought, well, less gives you more, and I would give a money back guarantee. I would tell clients that I could bring them an excessive amount of energy engagement, way more than a 5-piece band, and telling them less would give you more. So then that's where it became Marvelless.
Okay.
And then as I got more business savvy and started looking into copyrights and trademarks, I realized that it's a lot easier to trademark a name when you spell it wrong. So I was easily able to copyright and trademark Marvellous Mark.
Wow.
And fast forward to some of the principles and strategies that I teach now, the psychology really is about when you have a bigger goal, bigger vision, the big unreasonable dream, then you actually create something that calls pathways thinking. So there's less channels or less solutions to get to your big unreasonable dream. So there again, less gives you more. So it all came around full circle, even though I had no idea back in 1982 that Marvellous would be part of my brand nowadays.
Yeah. Wow, that's the fun thing. Like, we've hung out so much, we've showcased together so much, but we don't always have the time to like go deep.
Right.
If you consider this deep, I mean, this is more. But
we're going deep.
Deep in the sense that I think that there's a lot of great insight in there, and I think that's like spelling something wrong makes it trademark easier. I think brand people are like, yeah, but I don't think the common like. That's something I didn't think about. When I first started my career as a magician, I was going to be Devin Air. What are you laughing at, dude? What are you laughing about?
That's one of the cheesiest things I've ever heard.
Thank you,
but
Marvellous Mark.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's catchy.
So I mocked up a business card, and I would just hand it out to people just to get their opinion. What do you think of this? And apparently there was like a horse hardware brand called Devin Air. I don't know, like bits or something that go in horses' mouths. I don't know, brushes. And ultimately it was like, it's a little too cheesy. So, and I'm glad, because I didn't stick with the entertainer, magician route. Maybe that would have worked for that, but
see, my mind goes derriere.
Yeah.
Devin
Okay.
Air, and I'm thinking derriere.
I should have had you back then. You could have helped me shut that idea down a lot faster than I did. But
I had a couple of bad ideas like that as well. As well, like in the early years. Certain meeting planners would call me event insurance, because I could MC, I could entertain, I could DJ, I could always get the crowd going.
Yeah.
If there was a hiccup or bad AV, they'd send me out on stage, or like, you're event insurance. So I had this bright idea of getting printed up with my brand and name on them and putting event insurance. So luckily I tested it with some of my inner circle first, and they're like, "Are you crazy? Why would you would never give that out to a corporate client." So it's good to have a mastermind. It's good to have an inner circle, a sounding board, when you have these bright ideas.
Wow,
right?
dude.
Right,
well,
Devin,
I bet, yes, Marvellous Mark. And I think that we could probably do a whole episode on branding I don't know, mistakes, ideas, because honestly right now, you and I are kind of fell into the same vein of, I'm just going to call us recovering MCs, right? Or recovering entertainers, because like that was like how our careers were born. You and I mean, mine was the magician, yours was more the DJ, rockstar, personality kind of thing. But it morphed into, there's a message with this, and then you were kind of like half entertainer, half speaker, and then it's hard for speaker bureaus to know what is this guy? How do I pitch this guy? And so you and I finally had to go, okay, we're jumping into the motivational speaking thing. All of those other things are just like, I actually got to gig with Brian Regan once. I don't like to name drop or anything, but during COVID, he came to the Improv, and I got to do a 2 days with him. It was incredible. And I was explaining to him, because he was like, so tell me about your comedy career. I was like, well, I'm actually more of a motivational speaker that uses humor. And he was like, I get that. It's like, the Christmas tree is your speech, and then the comedy is just the ornaments that you hang on the tree. And I was like, dang, Brian Regan, that's a great analogy, right? So anything that we do, like the humor would be an ornament. Your drumsticks and the interaction is a sprinkle. For me, the magic, And so ultimately, it's so much easier for speaker bureaus, for meeting planners to say, oh, okay, that's a speaker. But what makes them unique, like you said, Patricia Fripp says, you need a hook. You need something memorable. You have it, man. Yours was just, and you don't want to try to go invent something or create something, because then it seems forced and you never find your thing. But when you take the real you and your real past to your speaking business, then it's organic and it's so much easier, right? And then the metaphors come naturally, and then you're able to be in your zone of genius when you do add those ornaments on the tree. Like you have expertise in this area, and that's what I see for you. Your Christmas tree is now your message, right? Of helping businesses become rockstar level teams, leadership, stop living in silos, all those things that you have. But then it's like you've got this fun way of doing it. And arguably, the fun way of doing it makes it more memorable for the audience, right? So they're going to be like, how do we remember? Oh, yeah, I remember Mark, the rock guy. He had all these, like, the A chord, the B chord, the chords really fit into it. So, so let's talk about that. I mean, what's that leap been like for you, and how's speaking going? And tell me about that.
Well, I want to rewind, because you made a thought come to my head about Elon Musk, about, why reinvent? Why not use what you have? And he said when he hires engineers, the ones that fail are the ones that are trying to create something new. And he tells the engineers, why don't you already use a concept or an idea that's already there, and then find out why it doesn't work, and then you build on it to make it work. Don't reinvent the wheel. Why would you want to start from scratch? Even if it's just 20% or 30%, you're way ahead of the game of starting ground zero. So he said some of the most successful engineers that he's hired, especially with SpaceX, are the ones that just, NASA has been around for years. Well, let's look at some of the ideas that didn't work for NASA. How can we make those ideas work or bring them to life? So I think that's very good. We always hear the phrase, don't reinvent the wheel. I think that's very, very important when it comes to business. Maybe there's a restaurant, or maybe there's a business or something that failed. Why did it fail? What can we learn that was good about that, and then build on it and make it more successful?
And it's tricky, because while we want to keep the who we are, we're making this huge change. You know what I mean? But it's like the right move. Like it's the right kind of change. That it's like you're putting those skills that you do have, arguably, to better use. Right, because your ultimate call is to, like, not just entertain. I mean, not that there's not a place for entertainers, because comedians that make people happy or make them laugh, there's a place for that. But when you guys like you and me who go, we have a different path, a different calling, to not just have people be like, that was a fun, uplifting experience, but saying, wow, I came away with some teachable sound bites that I'm going to remember, that apply directly to my life and to my work, that are going to make me up-level everything that I do. And I'm going to take this big, unreasonable dream to my team and be like, hey, what is our big, unreasonable dream? Do we have one? Right? Are we really thinking unreasonable? Or are we trying to keep our dreams, I call them seemingly impossible goals. What you call the big, unreasonable dreams. Some people call them stretch goals, but it's like, how do you really think outside the box? And that's one thing I do in my keynote, I'm sure you do too, is we want to think bigger than we've ever thought. What are the roadblocks? How can we start to break those down now to really take us to a new place, and then getting everybody on board with that vision? So in your keynote, go ahead.
The bigger the vision, the easier the decision, because of that pathways thinking. There's less less choices.
Yeah. So I love this, man. I love the Rockstar background. Can you kind of tell us how the Rockstar thing became your brand? And then I want to talk about also how it's sort of with the metaphor to business and what people can learn from Rockstars for their teams.
Well, we'll go back in time, not town. But it was a small town. I was born in a small town like John Cougar. But I was pretty much born a poor Missouri farm kid. I called it misery. And I was pretty much destined to be a farmer. But
we're close. I mean, are we close to your hometown at all?
Yeah, we're only a couple hours away. Cape Girardeau. Right down the I-55 where the Ohio-Mississippi rivers come together on the point of Illinois. Just hop over on the Missouri side.
Yeah. See, I forgot you. My dad was from rural Missouri, so I forgot that you were from so close. Okay, I'll keep interrupting you as you tell your story.
That's fine. It makes me a better speaker that way.
That's right. I can't keep you on your toes, baby. I'll just heckle you. But okay, go on, Mark.
So I was pretty much destined to be a farmer. I was president of my FFA class. I worked at the local granary and feed store, and I thought I was going to be an agribusiness person or a farmer, follow in my father's footsteps. But I put together a DJ company or some a DJ equipment back in high school, and we started DJing church parties and high school parties and started getting paid for it. And I thought, well, this is a pretty good side hustle, and it's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of attention. And I was kind of an attention hog back then, and kind of the class clown.
Says the man who just walked through the restaurant to the table of veterans who goes, "Is everything going all right here, fellas?" I'm like, Mark, keep it down, man. No, I love it.
So I always I thought that I wanted to be a rock star or be in a band someday, but I never had the discipline to take the time like Eddie Van Halen and play the guitar, deliberate practice, they call that, play it day in and day out, every day, hours and hours practicing, rehearsing and honing his skill. So I thought, well, DJ, I can play other people's music. And then I started incorporating props and putting on a little show. So for us, our DJ company grew really, really fast because we were the fun bunch. We didn't just stand there and play records. I started bringing other guys on stage, and we made like a mini band. We did like lip sync and air guitar things, and then like you were entertainers, and you got the audience interactive part of it, right? That you and I both do that in our keynotes. That's huge. Like that's what people want these days. Don't just be a talking head. Get those people involved. I love that you knew that early on, and it gave you the edge over your competitors. That's awesome. Yeah, we knew it, but we didn't know it. Right, sure. It was in you. It was innate. You just did it. You did what felt right, and. So because of that, people would hire you back more often. They would pay you a higher price because we would bring a bigger crowd. And then I started working part-time at the radio station, and it didn't pay a lot, but the general manager said he would give me free airtime to promote the sound system and the DJ business. So with that in mind, we were able to even charge more because when we did the Casey Halls and the fundraisers on the weekend, playing these parties for the different groups, we would run radio ads and we would draw a bigger crowd than everybody else, and we could charge even more. So I leveraged my relationship at the radio station. So I think the key takeaway there is what relationships can you leverage. I mean, I don't know about you, but my business is driven from all of the past relationships, calling up people, calling in favors, or who do you know that you can introduce me to that might be interested in the services that I offer as a speaker. And that's what we were doing back then. We were creating a disruption like KISS. We just didn't know it. And you just shared that someone reached out to you from an old client from 1995, and just booked you for Were you even alive in 95? Thank you. I was like, he didn't insult me. Hey, that's cool. He just called me young. That's great, man. Okay, yeah. So, fast forward, I just kept on pushing the envelope, and I had different partners in and out because everybody else would kind of, no disrespect, sold out and got real jobs. And I kept on doing the DJ and entertainment and the radio thing, and I just followed that passion, and it grew into multi-states. It grew into being on the morning show of the local radio station, and then that took me to Michigan for a bigger radio station, and I started the entertainment into DJ world up in Detroit area, working nightclubs, and then a client stole me away to do their marketing and advertising and work in the nightclubs, and then I ended up in Florida in 1990. I decided I wanted to be a cruise director, and a production company discovered me there because I was so outrageous and doing things differently than everybody else. They said, "You're not a DJ, you're an entertainer, you're an act. I'm going to hook you up with a management company." So that's when we put together the big corporate show, and that's when we started traveling international around 1998. We had it was Marvellous Mark and the Delegates of Dance. I was the ambassador of celebration, kind of like Devin.
Yeah.
But we were incorporating pyro and confetti storms and 50 costume changes, and nobody else was doing that. You either had a band for corporate America or you had a DJ. No one was doing what we were doing, and there again creating a disruption and setting ourselves apart until 9/11 hit. And when 9/11 hit, the world stopped, speaking stopped, entertainment stopped, conventions stopped, and at that point I decided to reinvent when I was using drumsticks, and I started wrapping content around the drumsticks and the entertainment, and that's kind of the door that opened leading to the speaking career. We started. Nighttime stages were still dead, but people slowly started coming back, having business meetings, and they realized that at such a somber time in our country's history that we started to need to laugh a little bit and engage a little bit. So I started getting a lot of bookings, opening up general sessions and meetings like that, talking about how we could beat the competition, drum up new business, and how XYZ company would walk the beat of a different drum. And from there, I was never satisfied. I just kept on reinventing, kept on trying to find new ways to set myself apart and be different. And the ups and downs of the economy and the recession and how the Enron guy screwed it up for all of us. And next thing I know, I had a book out, and I ended up in Las Vegas headlining my own show at the Venetian.
Wow. Dang, man. That's, I'd never heard that entire progression. That's crazy. I knew bits and pieces. Now, something you said caught my attention. You said 9/11, and then you described COVID. Did you notice that? You know what I mean? And here's why I say that, because from my generation, I was still in college during 9/11. So I didn't see the... from that unfortunate incident, I didn't see the impact on kind of just the country, the world meetings industry, and how you said things were shut down. And then the other year I hear about is 2008, the recession. I didn't, and while I was in business at that time, I didn't feel the effects of either one of those. For 9/11, because I was still in college. 2008 is because my career was only 4 years into it, and I was on a high growth anyway, so I didn't feel the dip, whatever dip there was. I mean, I was doing birthday parties. I don't think the birthday party industry ever gets disrupted. I was only 4 years in.
Kind of like dad and weddings.
Yeah. So I am just curious, enlighten us, because the people, like I say, who, weren't in business doing what we do during 9/11. Yeah. You said, so what did that look like, just briefly? Because we're just curious, catch us up on... you said meetings stopped happening for a while.
Yeah,
was it as long?
Travel stopped. People were afraid to travel. People were afraid to fly. Everything was grounded. And it literally, I didn't make that connection, but you're right. It was kind of like COVID, except instead of the government, telling us to shut down, the world just shut down on its own naturally, till we slowly started getting our confidence back and slowly started, creeping out of the dark area. Late night TV, all the comedians, none of them did any jokes or anything like that, because they realized, it's not too soon,
Sure.
And then after several weeks or a couple months, then they started bringing humor back in. It was the same way with the meeting business, should we be having fun? Should we be celebrating?
Right. There's a little guilt factor there when,
So it slowly came back, but the positive for me was it forced me to switch stages. I went from nighttime stage and started going to the daytime stage with the motivation and the content and the team building element for meetings and that. And I think, the lesson for your listeners out there is that you always have to be prepared or not be afraid to pivot. Because had I just stayed, well, the world's shut down, I'll just wait till it opens back up again, and then when they start hiring entertainers and DJs again, hopefully they'll remember me. Had I done that, I probably would have been out of business. I probably would have went back to farming.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wanted to pause here and focus on that, because those, 9/11, recession of 2008, COVID, I mean, those are things that could potentially rock your world to the sense to make you want to quit and give up, right? And that's going to happen to the people you speak for. Things rock our world sometimes, where it's how do we move on from here, right? And that was going to be my next question, and you answered. I mean, preparing, being ready for it. So what are and I want to continue the story, because right now you've taken us to headliner in Vegas, but as we're focusing on these things that rock your world, what are some things teams can do to safeguard themselves when their worlds are rocked? To what's one or two best practices that?
Well, I think the first thing is that you never give up on each other. You're not alone in this world, and that's what your bandmates are for. You don't be afraid to call out to your bandmates and say, hey, help me through this, or how can we get through that? And it's also a great time to keep honing your skill. The world stopped, but we're not going to stop rehearsing. We're still going to get in the garage and have practice and rehearse, so that when the world opens back up, we're ready to get back out on tour. Or maybe we have written all these songs so we can start cranking out a new album or new tapes or new songs to stream. And then I think the second thing is that we all learned for sure during the pandemic is, and it's by Carol DeWitt, a book called Perception. It's how you reframe the past. You look back and you can say, oh, this happened to me, what's going to happen to me now? Or you can reframe it, this happened for me, what can I learn? Or what can I learn? And for me, at 9/11, I learned that, okay, I have to come up with a new shtick or new idea, and this is a great pivot, or this is a great turning point for me. So you don't play the victim card. That's a fixed mindset. You actually think, all right, this is actually good. And because had 9/11 not happened, I probably wouldn't be speaking. I probably wouldn't be using the drumsticks. Hard telling where I would be. I could be back out on the farm,
right?
Driving the tractor.
Yeah, that's the which is an honorable profession, obviously.
Right.
But it's not your calling.
Right.
Right. I mean, you're just meant to be somewhere else. But yeah, I think there is the silver lining, looking for that in these. The teams have to do that. Okay, this happened. How can we turn this into good? I love that. I love that idea. I love that intention, man. That's so good. Thanks for sharing that.
For the young entrepreneurs and the young business people, or any business out there, there's going to be another pandemic. It's not going to be necessarily a pandemic, but there's going to be another 9/11. There's going to be another Enron. There's going to be another recession. There's going to be another pandemic, because we were just talking about that book, Peaks and Valleys. The whole world, your whole life is going to be full of peaks and valleys, and what you do on the peaks will determine on how long your valleys will last. So don't just think the world's going to be great again. There's going to be other. Who knows what it's going to be?
Yeah,
but
it's true. Which is honestly, you can look at that negatively or positively, because to me it's that's opportunity for more change that wouldn't have happened without that. And you and I, we share a faith that we don't have to fear anything.
Right.
There's nothing to be afraid of. It's something else might happen, but hey, let's look at how is this going to make me better. So I love that, how it's always something there.
Same way in our marriages and our relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, a great marriage is not easy. There may be marriages out there that are surviving, but I mean a good marriage where we really love our wives and our families and we just dig it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you got to be committed to it, to making it work, because there's Lord knows there's peaks and valleys in your relationship.
Yeah.
And so got to hang in there.
Yeah, man. So headliner in Vegas. So how did that go from there into now you're a motivational speaker? What bridged the gap in there?
Well, I always knew that was going to be my next. I shouldn't say always, but around 2003, 2004, I started thinking about my exit plan because no disrespect to Wayne Newton, but I didn't want to be Wayne Newton on stage.
Yeah.
Where people in the audience are saying, what's that old guy? What's that old guy doing on stage? He should have hung it up years ago.
For those of you listening, he's doing a mock facelift here. So yeah.
So I didn't want that to happen to me. When you leave, you want to leave on top. So I'm trying to think, what can I do that I wouldn't be a sellout or still something that I would enjoy. In the late 90s, I also started getting deep and heavy into Tony Robbins. Tony got about $25,000 of my money. I went to all of his programs, followed him around, and it was twofold for me. It was great for personal growth, but then I also started applying his strategies to my entertainment world and the DJ world and the radio world, and so it was twofold for me. And I'm like, he uses a lot of music. He's high energy. He's kind of like me. I'm like, I could do something like that. And then Robert Henry on an Eckerd gig years ago saw me, and he says, you're really great with the crowd. I want to introduce you to NSA, the National Speakers Association. So I actually joined NSA back in 2003.
Okay.
But my heart was still in entertainment, so that wasn't really my focus. And there's another great point, your business, your relationships will really scale when you're all in, and that's 100%. 98% is not commitment. When I went all in on being a professional speaker, that's when my business started scaling.
Yeah.
And even as an entertainer, before I was working part-time jobs, before I went all in, and back in 1984 when I went all in full-time entertainment, that's when my entertainment career really kicked off, because you're given 100% of your focus, 100% of your energy. And it's true, 98% is not commitment. You got to be all in. You got to be all in with your relationships, all in with God, all in with your wife, all in with your business.
I can relate, because I think a lot of, we've known a lot of speakers who have come to NSA, National Speakers Association, who started as entertainers. Dan Thurman, Mike Rayburn, Mark Mayfield. All these people who made that leap. And until you finally say, okay, I am a speaker, things don't really change. Even for me, that balance of entertainment content ratio took years, over a decade, for me to really master, if we want to call it that, master that balance. It makes me think, Darren LaCroix, he was like the world champion Toastmaster speaker. He came to our local Kansas City chapter like 7 or 8 years ago and spoke, and was talking about someone who was trying to quit their day job and become a professional speaker. And John Acuff has a good book called Quitter. I think it's John Acuff. And it's about closing the gap between your day job and your dream job. And I've never read it, but I've recommended it to many people. Have you ever done that?
I recommend it's kind of hypocritical.
But but I tell them, I say, hey, I haven't read it, but I've heard that this is good for what you're going, because I never had to make that leap. I was always an entertainer. Now, yes, I made the entertainer to speaker leap, but that was kind of a different vibe. But I suggested to a lot of people who it helped, because they didn't know how to let go of their day job and follow their dream job. And so anyway, I highly recommend the book Quitter. It's going to change your life. But anyway, one thing Darren LaCroix said was to this person who was like, I can't quit my day job, it's a safety net. And he was like, is it a safety net or is it a drag net? And that was like, whoa, I know. And then that person quit their day job and things exploded. And I've seen it happen with a couple friends of mine too. So, yeah, man, that's all. Okay, so you're going all in with speaking. What did the Rockstar thing? Did you wake up one day and go, oh my gosh, I can use this in my keynote speech? There's all these metaphors, like there's chords, there's bands, there's touring, there's all these metaphors I can use. How did that develop into what you have now?
Well, I was always mesmerized by rock stars. I was always reading the books and studying rock stars, from the early days up to now. I always like to see the behind the scenes and their business strategies of some of the different rock stars. So I was always, when I started the DJ company, I wanted to be a band or a rock star, but I went the DJ route with it. So I was kind of pretending to be a rock star, dressing up in costumes and, screaming and spandex. I had every spandex that David Lee Roth had because he was one of my inspirations back then. So,
They can't see it today because it's below the table, but yes, it looks
so
good.
I was becoming that, you are what you think about the most, or, find someone that's already doing what you're doing and just copy them, and you're guaranteed 60 to 80% of success if you just do the exact same things that everybody else does. So I was doing the Rockstar thing, but it was around 2005. I had a big show in Atlanta for IBM. I had 5,000 people in the Atlanta Dome. We had 5,000 pairs of drumsticks.
Wow.
And
how many trees does that take to make 5,000? Because that's 10,000 sticks. You don't even know.
I don't. I do know that today.
You see that clearing of land over there? That was all you, buddy. Just that one IBM gig.
Yeah, those of you that are saving the planet, I apologize. Plant a tree. For every 100 pairs of drumsticks I give out, I'm going to plant a tree.
Okay,
to date, I've given out over 500,000 pairs
of
drumsticks.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I know it's a lot of wood, right?
It is a lot of wood.
Now I lost my train of thought.
IBM, that's my
IBM.
fault. Yeah, I'm the worst interviewer ever. I told you I was going to keep interrupting you.
They named their conference Opportunity Rocks.
Oh,
so
I recognize that's the name of your book.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm liking, this is a cool name.
That is.
So after that conference, I immediately started checking into the copyright.
Did you spell it wrong?
No.
ROKS, ROX,
ROC. So I immediately got the trademark and copyrighted it and all of that. And then
awesome.
I'm like, this would be a great book title.
Yeah.
So then I started doing the research and putting the book, and then we launched the book in 2011, Opportunity Rocks, Be a Rockstar in Business and Beyond. So
wow.
It's how you can use the same success principles of rock stars and apply it to your business, to your personal life, for personal growth. And I should say successful rock stars. There's a lot of rock stars that are not successful. We're not talking rock stars that are burnt out or drugged out or rehabbed out. We're talking about people that treat rock and roll as a business. After all, they call it the music business because it really is. And the same strategies that we use in corporate America or for personal growth pretty much are the same. Business is business. It's the same strategies. And as a speaker, what makes me successful is that everybody has a connection with music. It's the international language. It releases dopamine and oxytocin. It's the feel-good hormones and chemicals in our body. And you don't realize it, but there's an emotional connection to music. So why do the Rolling Stones have 80-year-old fans and 13-year-old fans? Why is Taylor Swift able to create earthquake-type rumbles at her concerts with crazy fans? Why is it that the Grateful Dead was the most successful touring act of all times? So there's some great lessons that you can learn from rock stars and apply to business.
Yeah, dude, that's so awesome, man. I love that whole journey, love that story. I love that you were able to stay true to who you were and just even the research you had done. Because we've never actually spoken at an event together, but we've showcased together. So I've gotten bits and pieces of it, and it's just brilliant the way that you work in the different chords, the different elements of bands, and it's like you can tell you know your stuff, right? Like you're bringing in someone who's like knows rock bands, knows history, knows the nuances of the different bands. So can you I want to talk about the big unreasonable dreams, right? Was there like a big unreasonable dream you had in your life or something that inspired that idea? What makes you excited to present that idea to your audiences?
Well, that's what's really driven me to the next level. I didn't realize it at the time, but always trying to have a big goal or a big dream, whether it was to be on a bigger radio station, to have my own show band, to have my own show on the Las Vegas Strip. And a lot of times they don't happen as quickly as we would like them to happen. Like the Las Vegas show, I had that goal back in 1998. I thought I was going to take our big show band to Vegas and have a big Vegas show. And by 2002, 2003, I'd kind of like, it's probably not going to happen. And then in 2011, I got the call to do the Rock of Ages show at the Venetian. And then I'm thinking, when there's a phrase called, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I look back now, had I gone to Vegas with my band back in 2003, we would have flopped. We just weren't ready because the quality of entertainment and the quality of shows in Vegas is top quality. Hey, look, everybody. It's my wife, Kitty.
You better get that. 'Cause she's going to want to answer it. Put her on speaker.
Hey, Kitty, you're on the podcast. I forgot to turn my phone on silent. So you want to say hi to everybody out there in Devin's audience?
Yes, hi, everybody.
Hi, Jana. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for joining. Mind if I ask you a few interview questions?
I'm going to pass.
Oh, okay. All right. Next time.
So anything pressing, or can I call you back?
I just want to make sure you're paying attention to the time.
To pay attention to the what?
The time.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'll be on our way shortly if I wouldn't keep getting interrupted. All right, love you.
Love you, bye.
Bye.
He was talking about me, not you. I am the master of interruptions. That's hilarious. I love a good wife, keeping you on track with the time.
Yes, she is.
You have an important meeting to go to today, and you gotta.
She is my VP of Rockstar Chaos.
Yeah. So by the way, she does work for you officially, right?
Right.
What does Jana do for you exactly?
She takes care of all of the back door and front door activities. So before, as you're scaling your business, kind of like what Darren LaCroix was talking about, we try to do everything as entrepreneurs, but there comes that time where you got to take that leap of faith and hire people. There's a great book from Dan Sullivan called Who Not How, and instead of trying to figure out how to do the hows and the whats, you just need to hire who's to do that for you. And so many times we're like, well, I can't afford it, but I can't afford not to. Yeah. And we wind up procrastinating. But a fixed mindset is looking at an employee or a person as an expense instead of an investment. And when I switch that mindset, like if I'm going to scale my business, I need to get more people. So I actually hired 3 more people. I hired her full-time away from her job of 10 years. So she takes care of all the contracts, all the booking, all the phone calls. She pretty much manages everything. And then she goes on the road with me, and she takes care of the book sales, meeting with the client, making sure all the AV and all that. So I can literally just hit the stage for sound check and then hit the stage and rock the crowd. And she has everything set up at the back for the sales and the meet and greet and the photo ops, all that.
Wow. Sounds like a dream.
It is.
It's awesome.
We're together 24/7 and we love it.
That's great, man. And I love that by building this team around you, because I know you have a manager also, right? Melissa.
Right.
And you want to give her a shout out? Tell me.
Melissa, you rock.
There's Melissa, and then you got Jana, and you've got your relationships with the bureaus. I mean, you're demonstrating to your audiences, hey, I can't do this alone. Like we need each other. We need to lean on each other, like you said. Don't give up on each other, but also be there, be reliable, right? That people like she's called, hey, you need to show up, right? Like holding each other accountable. I love the demonstration of that. That it's like you're not just trying to do this alone. We're not meant to live it alone. Iron sharpens iron, and you're a great example of that. And just even the way you've reached out to me recently and other speakers and trying to collaborate. Hey, how can we have sort of a mastermind? How can we talk about business and everybody can upscale? And you're not afraid of what that might take away from you. I think some people are afraid to collaborate with their competition, so to speak, because, well, what if that, negatively impacts me, or they take away work or whatever. But what someone told me one time about that was, if you light someone else's candle, it doesn't take anything away from yours. And I've always remember that analogy. It's like, man, you're helping other people. Ultimately, you're becoming brighter together. You can make a brighter light than you could just by yourself. So
yeah, and
that's awesome.
And that's a fixed mindset when you're afraid that collaborating with a competitor is going to take business away. That's a fixed mindset, not a growth mindset.
Yeah,
and that's what part of the keynote presentation is, how effective can you work together with your band, because your band actually becomes a mastermind. And Henry Ford, Napoleon Hill, like when two people come together, you form a third mind. So when you have your band, your team coming together, whether they're facilities, whether they're marketing, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Everyone in your band plays an important part. It's not just about the drummer, it's not just about the lead singer. Everyone contributes. And when you put your band together and you treat everybody as an equal on the same stage, that's when you form that third mind, and that's when you have more creativity, more options, more ways to solve challenges or problems that pop up. Because there again, like I said, there's going to be more pandemics on the way. So, how you handle things on the peak is going to determine how low your valley is.
Yeah. Well, I know we got to wrap up soon because you got to get to your meeting, but I do want to ask you just like two more questions. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
The first one is, do people in rock bands, you're talking about being treated as equals, do people vie for power? Like, right? Like, so like Don Henley, right? And you think of the Eagles, it's like, and then the guy, Glenn Frey.
Glenn Frey.
It's like, how do did those two people go, oh no, I want to be the bigger star, I want to be the bigger, how do you keep that humility and that ego in check on the stage, but also in the business place?
Well, they didn't realize it, but the name of the band was not the Eagles, it was the Egos.
Boom! Up top, buddy! Yeah! Did you just come up with that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, see? This guy!
Well, the quick story on the Egos is when Don Henley and
that's too much, man. That's just awesome.
Don Henley and Glenn Frey put the band together. They had a really high standard or quality for the people in the band. Okay. Everybody had to sing. Everybody had to write. Everybody had to play multiple instruments, and everybody had to contribute equally. So Timothy Swint, Henley, Joe Walsh, they could all sing, write music, and play multiple instruments. So it wasn't like most bands that, all right, the drummer only drums and the singer can only sing, and usually the guitarist and the drummer write all the songs. Everybody contributed, and that's what made the Eagles such a superpower. And a little fame and fortune got in the way, and they broke up, and they said they wouldn't get back together till hell froze over. And then when they got back together for their reunion tour and named the album Hell Freezes Over, I just thought that was so brilliant.
Yeah.
Because that was, everybody's like, oh, we love the Eagles. When are you going to get back together? We're not unless Hell Freezes Over. And then 10 years later, they come back with the Hell Freezes Over album.
Wow. I potentially chose either the best or the worst example by accident, right? The worst in the sense that, man, what a great model. I don't think everybody sets it up like that everyone has to write, everyone has to sing, everyone has to play. But then a good example in that they broke up and their world was rocked, right? But they came back from it. So I love that, man. So how does that apply to the workplace? Like if there's all these people who, we're human beings. People want power. People want recognition. People have egos. What's the answer? Is it humility, communication? What are the kind of things that help a team stay a team and keep from breaking up, right, in a way that they don't even want to get back together?
Well, there's three key elements that I talk about in the teamwork or the band part of my presentation. And the first point is you have to do what's best for the band or do what's best for the team. So maybe we've done, you hear the phrase, this is the way we've always done it. Well, if you're going to attract new talent and keep new blood in your organization, in your band, maybe the way that they do it will still get you to the end game, which that's important, the end game. Maybe it's not the same way that you do it, but as a leader, as a band leader, you need to step aside and let them try it. Do what's best for the band, do what's best for the team. The second point is you have to honor everyone's unique abilities. And I say, like in most bands, some people are up front and very noticeable, like the lead singer. Wow! While others, like the bass player, they're quiet and they're in the background and they barely get noticed at all. But a smart rock star makes sure that everyone in the band gets honored. And then the third and probably the most important point is check your egos at the door. Whenever you're getting the band back together, or whenever it's rehearsal time, jam session, meeting time, check your ego at the door. Everybody contributes. Everybody's important. Let's form that third mind and see what kind of brilliance and creativity that we can come up with to scale our business, to take it to the top of the charts and just make our fans want to buy more and get more of us, get another piece of us.
Mic drop. There it is, dude. Thank you so much, man. That's great stuff. Appreciate everybody. Marvellous Mark, a.k.a. Mark Kamp, marvellousmark.com. Do you have any social media? You have a handle or an @ or
Everything is
just
at
go through the
Marvellous Mark.
website. Okay, go through the website. Book him. He's incredible. He's awesome. Hopefully, we'll get to share the stage together, other than just a showcase sometime soon. Any closing thing you want to say before we sign off?
As promised, it's been a great show. So I would like to present you with my very personalized, autographed Marvellous Mark drumsticks.
Thank you very much, Marvellous Mark. It is an honor. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining us today, man. Look forward to hanging out again. You're awesome. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, never stop asking, what else is possible?